Welcome everyone to the second part of our YouOregon Success Series. We'll be holding these sessions throughout this week on different topics to help you prepare for this fall term at the University of Oregon. My name is Christina Davina and I'm an academic and career advisor in Tyson Hall. Our YouOregon Success Series event today is focused on academic success, specifically learning about the different services and resources available to you across campus. Our colleagues from the Teaching and Academic Engagement Center, better known as the TAEC, will be providing an overview of available resources. We also have a current UO student who will share their experience utilizing some of these services. We definitely will have time to open it up and ask you the questions so that we'll be here to answer. Just one last note before we get started. This session is being recorded so that students can view it later. To respect student privacy, we have blocked the video and audio of attendees, but attendee names will still be viewable in the recording details. So just something to be aware of. If you'd like to submit a question for our presenters today, please do. There are a couple of ways that you can do that. You can submit questions in the Zoom chat if you don't mind them being public and recorded, or you can submit them privately to my colleague Ellen Baldwin. You can send them to her over Microsoft Teams. Her username is ebaldwin, EBLBALDWIN, or you can also email questions. She'll be monitoring the chats in her email. We will also post the details of how to submit questions in the Zoom chat. Now I'm going to hand things over to my colleague, Dan Hagan from the TAEC. Thanks so much for being here today.
All right, thank you, Christina. So I wanted to start today with just a general overview of thinking about academic support and what it is and why you might seek it out. And so at the most general level, when we're talking about academic support here, we're thinking about that system of resources at U of O that individuals can draw on to help them excel academically. And this is maybe a little too broad of a definition. We know there's a lot of factors that go into our academic success, like healthy eating, good sleep, exercise, things like that. But we're really going to be focusing on those resources that are specific to the skills that you're going to be utilizing in your courses. In terms of who accesses academic support at U of O, it's really for everyone and anyone. And I would encourage you to think of this as available to you wherever you feel like you're at in an individual course or with respect to your academics in general. It's not just if you feel like completely lost in a course, and it's not like just for a student who is trying to put the finishing touches in an already nearly perfect essay. You could be anywhere in between, and it's appropriate for you to seek out academic support. You might use it because you have concerns about specific classes or specific assignments. But I also wanted to make sure to mention that academic support can also be sought for a desire to, I think of it as sort of leveling up in your academic skills in general. It might not be specific to an individual course, but you just want to get better at college level writing, for example. When might you seek out academic support? I would say if there's one thing I really want to stress here, it's sooner is better than later. I think as an advisor, I have often met with students seeking support who have come in once they've gotten themselves in a place where they're feeling pretty stressed about things and they're looking to kind of build out their support system a little bit better. But there are many cases where I think if we'd gotten ahead of this, we could have gotten a lot in place to help a student really excel in their classes. And so I always encourage students to really start inquiring about academic support, maybe even earlier than you think you might need to. Maybe just when a big assignment is first introduced in a class before you even start working on it, as you're in the brainstorming phase. A big question that students, I think, will have is where they can find academic support at U of O, how to get connected to it. And the very first sort of line of support that I want to highlight is your instructors and your graduate employees in your courses. There are many instances where I've met with students who are seeking support in a class, and I've asked them whether they have met with their instructor or connected with them in some fashion, and the answer is no. And I always encourage this point of connection One, for the simple reason that your instructor is the person who may have designed the course and is maybe assessing you in the course, and they may be the best position to know what's going to be the most effective for you to do to succeed in the class. And so kind of breaking the ice on connecting with those instructors or your graduate employees who maybe are leading a discussion section is really your sort of first line to avail yourself of when building out your academic support. If you're not sure where to go and maybe you've tried that or you're looking for other options, I always recommend that you think of your academic advisors as an excellent resource for connecting you to support. Part of our job as advisors is to know what's out there at U of O that you could take advantage of. And so coming to us, we might not be the ones providing the support, but we should know who could. And so advisors in Teixin or OAA or through programs like Pathway, CMAE, TRIO, and SSS can all be great resources to help get you connected to academic support. And then one specific office at the university really is a hub for academic support, and that is the Tutoring and Academic Engagement Center. And so you're always welcome to reach out to the center directly to learn more about what support is available at the university. And in fact, I'm going to spend the next little bit here highlighting the kinds of services that are available through the Tutoring and Academic Engagement Center or the TAEC. There's a range of options and learning support for students across the curriculum at the university, and it's support that's available to all of you. We offer tutoring for a range of subject areas, both in an individual one-on-one format and a small group format. We also offer something that's called supplemental instruction, which here at the U of O, we call Class Encore. These are additional meeting sections that are associated with courses you may be enrolled in to provide an opportunity for you to go deeper into the material that you're working on and learn how to learn most effectively in that class. We also offer credit-bearing courses that review study skills that would help you in a range of classes at the university, regardless of subject or your major. And we periodically offer workshops on study skills topics as well. And then lastly, I wanted to mention the opportunity through the center to connect with individuals around a broader sort of academic coaching topics. If you're feeling like you need help managing your time or combating procrastination, or just thinking about how to adjust to learning in the university setting, we can help you with that too. I do think for many students, particularly new students who are maybe transitioning from a different academic environment, maybe high school or maybe a different college or university, there may be adjustments and it might not be specific to an individual class. The center can help you think about that too. As far as our services this fall, we are going to have options that are available in person and remote. The bulk of our services will be offered remote this fall, but there will be opportunities to have in-person individualized meetings around math and writing support in particular. There are a number of ways you can connect with the center, and I would recommend as one of your first stops, just our website at engage.uoregon.edu. We'll be working to keep this up to date with all the pertinent information we think you need to know about the services we offer, as well as some other services available around campus that we think you should know about. You're also welcome to send us emails at engage@uoregon.edu, or you can give us a call between 10 and 4 Monday to Friday. The center is still located on campus, even though a lot of our services will be remote. We're on the 4th floor of the Knight Library, and for services that will be delivered in person, they'll be available there. Beyond the Tutoring and Academic Engagement Center, there are a lot of other sources of academic support, particularly in math, science, and writing. There are services that are offered for students in business through the business school. There are services that can support the writing for students in the School of Journalism and Communications. I would recommend visiting the TAEC website for more information about some of these resources or speaking with advisors. Another option that I will highlight again is talking to your instructors. individual instructors might know about opportunities through a department or program that they could help you connect with. And that might give you some really targeted subject-specific support. Another office I wanted to be sure to highlight is the Accessible Education Center, or the AEC. If you had an IEP in high school or a 504 plan, or otherwise had accommodations arranged, this would be a good office to connect with to learn about how you might implement some of those accommodations in the university setting. Or if you feel like you're experiencing some kind of obstacles to your learning, or otherwise feeling like you're sort of not performing at your best, you feel like something is sort of not quite clicking in how classes are going, I would recommend reaching out to the center to have a conversation about whether you may be eligible for accommodations, or about what recommendations they would make so that you can really succeed at your highest level. You can visit their website, give them a call, or you could send them an email. And the last specific service that I did want to highlight here is the counseling services at the University of Oregon. We know that how you're doing in terms of your mental health is really directly related to how you're going to be doing in your classes. And so if you're feeling stressed, if you're feeling anxious or down, I would highly recommend reaching out to counseling services to start a conversation or to get connected about what additional support might help you, again, to excel academically at the university. Broadly, I think of all of these pieces as tools that are available to you as a student at the university. And this is just in the academic support category. There's so many other things out there. And part of what you're doing, especially as you're getting to know the university, is you're learning what tools are available, and you're really assembling that toolkit. And so I would encourage you here at the outset of the year to really be diligent about learning what's there, getting connected, and putting those tools in that toolkit. But it's not enough to just have those tools. You need to use them too when appropriate. And so I would really encourage you to, as I mentioned earlier, not wait to seek support, but to identify the appropriate tool for your situation and to put it to use. I believe we have some time now to turn things over to some further discussion. Back to you, Christina.
Thanks, Dan. Before we open it up for our general Q&A, I wanted to give Faith a minute to kind of talk from the student experience as someone who's utilized services. So Faith, if you want to share with us kind of what your experience have been, we're excited to hear.
Hi, everyone. So like Christina said, my name is Faith, and I'm a junior here at the UO. And I'm majoring in chemistry with minors in biology and sociology. So I've kind of reached out to lots of different tutoring services. And I honestly can say that, like, if I didn't reach out to different tutoring services, I wouldn't be able to excel in school, and I'd really be struggling. So I'm really thankful for how many tutoring services there are on campus. In particular, I went through the general chemistry sequence, and I was a part of one of the class encore classes that Dan was talking about with the TAEC, and that was super helpful. They really helped break down the concepts that you were learning that you might not have been able to understand in this bigger setting of a class, and it really was more individualized, which I found very helpful. I also reached out to, within the chem department, there's tutoring specifically for the general chemistry sequence, like super chem. This is just peer tutors that are also super helpful and can go over concepts and anything like that that you're struggling with. I've also reached out to math tutoring, and I'm also an advisor, a peer advisor here at the UO, and I always, whenever anyone is struggling in math, I suggest going to the math library or to the night library. Because they are super helpful. Everyone is super kind and can break down concepts as well as go over specific problems too, which sometimes it's easier to work through like a big problem that you're struggling with and then get the concepts with it. And all of the tutors are super nice and super helpful. And I've really found the night library and the math library really beneficial for my own learning. And like Dan was saying, I really, really suggest going to office hours. I can be found in someone's office hours almost all day. Both instructors and GEs are so kind. And I know as I came in as a freshman, I was kind of terrified of professors in particular, but also grad students. And I learned that they actually really just want to talk to someone, and sometimes they don't have anyone that comes to their office hours. So they're a lot kinder than you might think they are just as a little freshman. But they're really nice people, and they really like to break it down for you, because sometimes, again, it can be hard to understand these concepts in a big lecture hall when they're trying to give the overview of it for everyone. So you can come in and be like, even through Zoom office hours that I've gone to last term, you can come in and be like, here's where I got confused, or even I don't know where to start. And these professors and instructors are really helpful in helping you, and just they're there to help. And it's okay to be scared, but also to push through and get to the help you need. And everyone's going to be really kind on the way through. So yeah, that's all I've done so far through the UL, but we can open it up to more questions.
Faith, can I actually ask you a follow-up question? Is it hard to get into Class Encore?
No, it's actually not. Some of them do fill up pretty fast. So when you do learn about it, usually the instructor should tell you about Class Encore. Actually, at least that's how I found out through my chem sequence. But I would do it as quick as you can. But the instructions, once you do have like the link to Class Encore, are super simple.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So we're going to get started with the open Q&A. This is, kind of an ask us anything area. I did have a couple of questions that came through before the presentation that we can kind of get started with Dan and Faith. So the first question is, do I have to pay for tutoring?
The vast majority of the tutoring services and academic support at U of O are free for students, pretty much everything that I described. One exception here is that the TAEC does maintain a list of private tutors that are available for a range of subjects if something wasn't available in an area that you wanted support in, or you wanted maybe additional support beyond what you could get. Those private tutor hires would be paid, and you would need to make those arrangements yourself. But beyond that, everything else I've mentioned is free. I guess another exception is if you sign up for one of our study skills courses, the credit-bearing study skills courses, you would be charged tuition for that class. So they're typically 1 or 2 credits.
Actually, Dan, that's great that you brought those up, because that's another question. Can you speak a little bit more about those 4 credit classes? There was a question that came through about, are there any resources to help with things like study skills, test taking, or academic skills?
Yeah, absolutely. I teach a lot of those classes. So the kind of the core of the offerings through the TAAC in terms of credit-bearing classes are a series of 1 credit courses that focus on different core areas of study skills. We call it the Tackling series, and there's a course that looks at kind of reading and note-taking skills called Tackling Texts. There's a class that looks at goal setting and time management. It's called Tackling Time. And then there's a class that looks at study skills related to exam preparation. It's called Tackling Tests. Students are welcome to take all 3 of those classes or just 1. One nice thing about them is each of them is, the way we currently offer them, is set up to run 3 weeks, and each runs sort of in sequence. So a student could take texts, then time, then tests. It would be 3 credits total in their schedule, and they'd be taking them in sequence, or you could just take the 1 or 2 that interest you. We also have offered other classes, including courses that are about the transition to the university more generally, orienting you to what it is to be a student at a big research university like U of O, and learning about the resources there and how to make effective use of them. And we've also offered courses that look at questions about around kind of decision making and how that can go into decisions about major or career as well.
And just to refresh my memory on that, those courses, I think when I've helped students find those courses, they've been listed under UGST 199 as the subject codes. Is that correct?
Okay. Thank you, Christina. Yeah, they are UGST 199, and you may have to hunt around for them a little bit for the specific titles, because you will find other things under the UGST subject code. And if you're not sure, they're all listed along with their CRN, the course registration numbers on the Engage website as well. So, and if you're not sure, you can always email the center and we can help you identify the correct class.
Awesome. Another question that came through earlier about classes was a student was saying they were signing up for Writing 121 and they saw something called Writing 195 and wondered what it was because that wasn't part of the 121, 122, 123 series. So if you could speak a little bit to what that is.
That's right. And so the Writing 195 classes are an additional writing tutorial that a student can sign up for if they're enrolled in a writing WR writing class, writing 121, 122, or 123. So you need to be enrolled in one of those. And if you're enrolled in one of those, you can also enroll in 195, which will then connect you via that course to the tutorial services through the Center for Teaching Writing, which will, I believe, give you a once a week sort of tutoring opportunity to support the writing that you're doing in the writing courses. The student would need to connect with that center to arrange the scheduling of that. And so it's not enough to just schedule the Writing 195 class in your class schedule. There's some further action that you need to take to get connected. But if you're confused about that, in addition to the Center for Teaching Writing, you can reach out to the Tutoring and Academic Engagement Center and you can get connected to an individual who could help walk you through it.
Great, that's awesome information. We had another question that came through, and I know I, as a former teacher, love seeing this one. Do I have to prepare anything when I go to tutoring?
Yeah, so I want to say yes and no. And so I don't want to intimidate people from seeking out tutoring by saying, oh yeah, you need to have a ton prepared. I think you should get connected to academic support if you feel like you need it. That said, I think that tutoring sessions tend to be more productive and beneficial if students come in with some preparation, specifically around the needs that prompted them to seek out the services. And so if you're coming in with a piece of writing, I think it's most effective to come in with some clarity about why you're seeking support in the writing, if you're having trouble developing your thesis, or you're really struggling with certain writing skills. And if you are reviewing an exam, for example, or a problem set, maybe you say, well, I did these problems and I understood why I missed these, but here's a kind of problem type that keeps coming up that I continue to struggle with. And that could focus the work that you and your tutor do. I wanted to invite Faith maybe to comment on that too, given your experience with seeking out tutoring as well, to see if you have any tips to share.
Yeah, I typically found it more helpful for me and more helpful for the tutoring as well to come in with specific questions or specific concepts that I was confused on. But if I didn't really have any general or any specific things to that I was questioning, but I still felt like I was confused, I typically would go to office hours for that. And even so, most of my science classes, there'd be multiple people in my office hours. So I would just kind of sit and listen to what the teacher is saying to other students. And then that would clarify things for me that I didn't even know I had questions on. So I find that typically more helpful if I don't really have specifics to go to a place like that where other students can be asking questions and I can be observing the answers. But then if I'm going to like a one-on-one tutoring, then I do like to plan a little bit more just so that we can keep going and benefit the tutoring a little bit more.
And I would just add that I think is one of the advantages of some of our small group tutoring opportunities. We've kind of highlighted some of the individual one-on-one formats, but as Faith was saying, an advantage of being in a small group, whether it's the groups that the TAAC has for some of the subject areas like say math or science, or whether it's through Class Encore, which is affiliated with some specific classes. An advantage you have here is that there are going to be other students there who are asking questions you might not have thought of, and it might bring up new questions. So I encourage students to consider that small group option, whether it's the small groups or the Class Encore.
We actually had a question come through for Faith. Did you ever go to tutoring with friends or classmates, like in a group?
Yeah, I definitely liked going to tutoring with friends a lot more than I did alone, especially at the beginning of my freshman year. It made me a lot more comfortable, and I definitely, so Class Encore is actually where I met a couple of my friends now, because sometimes you can go in thinking that you have like a quote unquote dumb question, but you soon learn that there are no dumb questions and teachers are willing to answer anything as well as tutors. So going with friends or classmates is definitely a good way to feel a little bit more comfortable. And it's a great way, like Dan was saying with these Class Encore sessions, is a great way to meet people and make some friends in the process.
And some of our services are going to need to be scheduled one-on-one, and so wouldn't offer the opportunity to come with a group. But I think something you could consider, again, to highlight Class Encore is if you know someone who's in your chemistry class, say, and there's a Class Encore section, you could both plan to sign up for it and try to get in the same section.
That's a great idea. We had another question that came through that says, I am a really slow, detailed-oriented reader. Is this something I could work with a TAEC learning specialist on?
Absolutely, and I would suggest considering the Tackling Texts course as well, which I think still has space in it for fall term. So I'd be happy to have you join us. The entire focus of that class is really on your reading skills. I think that while speeding up is certainly we do talk about, we also talk about slowing down, because I think being a meticulous, careful, slow readers can be a real advantage in some classes, especially where you're working through some dense argumentative texts like in, say, philosophy.
Awesome. Are there certain times of the term when it's harder to get an appointment and other times when it's easier? Like, is there any benefit to coming earlier?
I would say historically, as you might expect, we tend to have higher demand around exam periods for services, around finals and around midterms. And so I think that's part of my emphasizing the come sooner, is that you can find perhaps that there's higher demand at different points in the term. But if you're struggling to connect, I would just reiterate reaching out to the center directly through our email or phone to see if we can help facilitate a connection to some form of academic support, regardless of the point in the term. I don't know, Faith, what your experience was like.
Yeah, I would definitely say the same. And right around when the midterms and finals come along, there's definitely a lot more people. I've been in a couple office hours where I've been sitting on the floor. The room is too packed, and those are typically right around the midterms. So I would definitely say go in early and find your tutoring services is typically better and more helpful for you.
Great. Dan, you had talked a little bit, there was a question that came in about online learning and really wanting more face-to-face options. And you had mentioned the Sky Studio. Are there going to be specific hours that are going to be different in the Sky Studio than what's available remotely? Or are they going to be the same?
That's a good question. And so as far as the tutoring services available that you schedule in the Sky Studio, what I would first say is that when looking for that individual scheduled tutoring session, students should use Navigate, which is the app or website that they would use to schedule advising appointments. And they can actually look for a meeting type that says tutoring and academic support. And that's how you would actually schedule a TAEC tutor appointment in the subjects that we offer it in. For math, writing, science, and language, we're going to be offering remote tutoring one-on-one as an option there. And they're going to be offered a wider range of hours. In fact, there's going to be some evening time available for tutoring support and some weekend time available as well. But as far as the in-person sessions, that's going to be limited to math and writing subject support, and it's going to be noon to 4, Monday to Friday in the Sky Studio during the term. But a student would need to schedule that appointment through Navigate, and that's to ensure that we can manage the number of people that are in that space.
And if a student needed help scheduling that, that's something they could call and get phone support by calling the TAEC?
Absolutely, yeah, they could call the TAAC, and I think we're planning to staff that phone from 10 to 4.
Perfect.
And you can always send an email as well if that works better.
I just have a couple more questions that we had. I actually have a follow-up question because my flight path is the Global Connections flight path with the languages. Which foreign languages do you support in tutoring?
Historically, we've supported some of the higher demand ones like Spanish. And I would refer to our website to see some of the additional support available in languages. The Amada Learning Center is another resource on campus that may be able to offer students some additional language support. And so we also, it looks like, are going to be offering French support through the TAAC at the first and second year levels.
Awesome, thank you. We had a question come through. My high school teacher always gave me extra time to take tests. I'm worried about navigating this now that I'm in college, and they were asking if anybody has any advice on that.
This is a case where a student might consider speaking individually with an instructor about concerns in a particular class for sure, but also working with the Accessible Education Center. Even if a student didn't have formal accommodations in high school, if they were making individual arrangements with high school teachers that were allowing them extra time or other different sorts of arrangements around completing assignments or exams, I think that should prompt a conversation with AEC around exploring whether a student might qualify for accommodations in the college level courses that they're in. So certainly speaking with individual instructors, but I would urge a connection to the AEC as well.
Fantastic. We had a question come through asking, what exactly do writing tutors help with? Because I think there's some confusion as to like kind of how much you have to have ready. Is it just when I have final drafts of papers, or kind of how does that work?
No, my understanding is that the writing tutors can support at any stage of the writing process. The thought here, though, is that the tutors aren't there to write the paper for you. They're there to support you in the writing process. But the writing process is from the idea generation stage to the final draft stage. And so I think it would be appropriate to seek out support in writing at any point along that spectrum. So don't feel like you need to have a near final draft before you're seeking support in writing. In fact, if you're struggling at the outset of a writing assignment, that might be a great opportunity to seek the support of a writing tutor.
I've also gotten, I've also gotten help from writing tutors, and they're super helpful, and they've helped me kind of brainstorm ideas to help me develop my paper more. And I'm also someone that I'm not the best at like grammar, punctuation, and all of that, and they've helped me with that, and also have taught me the skills to then be able to do it on my own as well, which has been super helpful.
I also wanted to mention that when it comes to the writing that students bring to the Tutoring and Academic Engagement Center, it doesn't have to just be the writing for writing 121 or 122. If you're writing an essay for an anthropology class, you can bring that. If you're writing something for even maybe a lab report, and maybe you don't need support on the sciencey side, but on the writing side of the lab report, that could be appropriate to get help with as well. But also scholarship essays or graduate school application essays. The writing support we offer can help you with that as well.
And multiple drafts too, right? If a student comes in once with their first draft, they can come back again in a couple of days when they have their rewrites or edits.
Yeah, if we have availability, come on by.
Well, that looks like that might be the last question that we have. Did anyone else have anything else that they wanted to ask? It looks like no. So I just wanted to take a minute to thank everybody for joining with us today. And just remind everyone that keep in mind that if you need any advising support, the advising offices are available if you have questions or concerns about your fall schedule or anything else. You can reach out by calling or visiting our website, which is advising.uoregon.edu. You can also visit with our colleagues over in the TAAC, and their website is engage.uoregon.edu. A recording of this and our other sessions are going to be available on this site. Also, we'll be holding more sessions Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of this week at 3 p.m. for the YouOregon Success Series. So please check them out. I want to give a big thank you again to Dan and Faith for being here today. And I believe that's it. Have a great day, everybody.